While others celebrate the wins,
Yes.
we celebrate the mud.
each episode has a special guest.
Tony-nominated actress, Broadway's Lily Cooper.
Tashir Zameda.
David A. Gregory.
Getting messy with muddy topics.
We are going to be talking about grief journey.
With hilarious moments
Now get over here.
And deep conversations.
I'm ashamed to even admit this, but this is what happened.
This is Into the Mud.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Mud podcast. While others celebrate the wins.
We celebrate the mud. We're coming to you from the Barrel Lounge at the Mall in West Village. I'm Alex Kuman,
And I'm Drew King.
and we're so excited for today's guest, wonderful comedian Emma Willmann.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you guys.
I'm excited to meet you.
Great
Yes,
to meet you.
yes.
I know, I love your content, so I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to chat with you.
So
Do you
good.
guys go way back, or are you?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
studied
met-
abroad together.
Oh, cool.
In college.
I'd say that's pretty far back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
17,
that wasn't-
17 years ago.
I didn't
No.
mean that like.
No way.
Pretty far back.
I didn't mean it like that, but like that's nice.
No,
That's
but
nice.
it's a good. It's
Yeah, it
good
was
longevity.
2007.
Yeah.
So I can't do
That's-
math right now.
I can't do math
Almost
either,
20
but-
years. It's like 18 years.
Yeah. Nice. Good.
17,
That was good.
Yeah.
18 years, which is crazy.
It's a long time to know someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we like established the friendship, and then I lived in Chicago for a while, and then when I moved back to New York, we really reconnected. And we stayed in touch over the years, but
That's great.
yeah.
A
Do
friendship.
you still have we asked this on a past episode, and I love this question of like, where are your like friends from in like the lifespan? Are they elementary school, high school, college? Like, where are do you have
Comedy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I love thinking about this, and I think about it a lot.
Let's go.
And it used to be something I
Let's
was
go.
kind of insecure about.
Okay.
But so I'm going to try to like organize my thoughts with it. But so in elementary school, I'm from such a small town. Everybody, elementary school through high school, that was like your core group. You knew
Wow.
them, you knew their parents. Like it was so enmeshed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was also very much like the people that you were friends with, you stayed friends with.
Mhm.
Now, I graduated and I like lost touch with almost all of my friends from high school too,
Yeah.
except for a few that then moved like to different. I have a friend Jennifer in LA and then a friend Kate who's in New York. But it kind of implanted this thing in me that like once you're friends with someone, if you're even in the same area as them, you just stay friends with them, which is like for better or worse because then like in college I had a really close group of friends, still friends with some of them, and then in comedy I started to notice like as I was like moving in these like different places, I would maintain friendships where it's like some friendships probably are just supposed to be situational friendships for that time. And then when I would feel kind of bad where I'd be like, why am I not really close with this? I'd almost like stress myself. Oh, I got to talk to this person at least a couple times a year. Cause that's like the pattern I established with friends from home, but especially with like doing more self-work, that's where I really started to let that go. Cause it was like, okay, I have some friends that I really feel seen by and I love the support so much. And it's not like I definitely went through a phase, which I would say was after college, drinking a lot, starting comedy, where the friendships were like really designed around holding kind of, not just pushing each other down, but
keeping you exactly where you are.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but it's not what I want. Actually, it's not necessarily fine, but it would be very much like, this doesn't work and that doesn't work and like, fuck this and fuck that. And I've stayed friends with a couple of those people and it is fun. I keep a much more of a boundary, but I think I used to be like, oh my God, I don't have that many friends now in adulthood, but the ones I do have, I feel really close to.
Like deeply connected to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the drinking piece of that is that's such a thing with the drinking culture, or like
Yeah.
when you
Totally.
quit drinking that you start losing some of the friends that you had.
You go,
because-
who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's like a
Not
played
who I
out
signed up for.
one
Yeah.
night stand where it's like then you wake up and you're like, what, and then it's like that, but like with friendships where it's like you come out of a blurry thing of years and years and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Like that's what it
Yeah,
felt like. a little bit.
exactly. Which I think is a perfect segue into our topic for today,
Mm.
which is learning how to trust yourself,
Yes.
which is something that, like,
Oof, do I struggle with that
Yeah.
too?
Is that a cigarette? Yeah. Do you smoke or did you use?
No. My mom was
okay.
a lifelong smoker though.
Oh,
She was like,
wow.
honey, Very
Really?
Boston, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
my aunt Hessie was like that.
Yep.
Like, just like the character from There's Something About Mary.
Oh,
The,
the woman who's always tanning.
Yes,
and
that
she's
woman.
she's like leathered skin, and she's like, yeah, like that. I see that as my mom as
that
well.
was like my aunt
yeah,
Hessie.
yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Such a character.
Yeah.
It's such a New
Boston-
England character.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. But you and I were talking about this recently, and that's why we brought it up. But like, learning how to trust yourself is such a hard. It's so hard. It's so hard,
hard.
and it means so many things. So
And
like,
it's so tricky because it's like you're the same self. I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but that's screwed over yourself.
you're fucking yourself.
Yeah, I've done all kinds of shit to it's like this. First of all, it's like I'm supposed to trust myself. Like some of my earliest memories are of like snorting weird things. Like I remember, like
What was the weirdest thing you snorted?
It started with like pixie sticks, and then we'd be kind of funny.
Sure, I would do that.
Just weird
Fun dip?
stuff.
Yeah.
Fun dip.
Fun dip.
Oh, absolutely.
Watch
snorted Fun
out.
dip.
Yeah.
But I would do it, and it would be kind of like funny. But it's like I remember being on like a ski trip with like a bunch of kids from my class in like 7th grade, and for some reason snorting pepper, and then we thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. But if that's the same self, that's the executive director of the operation I'm running. No, so it's like I have a hard time with the self-trust, but now I'm realizing too, it's like the more you know your brain, it's like trusting, it's like relearning how to like parent yourself a little bit.
Yes, reparenting. Because I'm going to say that
Reparenting.
the CEO of Emma today is not 7th grade pepper
No.
snorting.
Yeah, I was like, are you still snorting pepper?
I haven't, no.
See, that's growth.
No.
You've
Minus
grown
this
and
morning,
changed.
but,
Well
but
done.
yeah. I haven't done any,
There you go.
No pepper.
No illicit pepper.
no illicit
Yeah.
pepper. I think that was a one and done, I hope to God.
But it is a lifelong process, right? So like, did you engage in behavior that you because really what that is, and I think what we've all done, and like where I'm kind of coming out of now with myself is being able to like identify behaviors that don't benefit me,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
big or small, whether it's drinking alcohol, whether it's going to bed late, whether it's being in relationships or friendships
Yeah.
that don't serve you or suit you, being able to identify those, which is hard
It is
if you're in it.
because like
it's
with the friend
scary.
thing, you go, if I can't, you start going, I want to be a good friend to people that know how to, in some capacity, at least have the hope of being good to themselves, right?
Yeah.
And then if you, over the years, and then you were like, okay, this person's really self-destructive. I don't know how it can be there. But then it gets scary because, well, if I create a boundary or pull away or don't talk to them as much, am I going to be lonely?
Am I going to be lonely,
And the
or is
truth
something
is,
going to happen
no.
to them?
Right. Or something
Or
going to happen to
and then
them,
it's going to
right.
be on my yeah. So it's like there's all that. So you have to like identify it first, and then you have to step away from those behaviors, which I think is so hard. Like whatever the adult equivalent is of snorting pepper,
Right.
is
Cocaine.
Yeah. Hard
like
stuff.
if there was. Yeah, I love that I couldn't think of.
What people
yeah.
snort as adults? Pixie sticks.
That could be the most
pepper,
because it's so pure. Yeah, you're like, I don't know if there's other things that people snort that are destructive. If there are, it could be one of those. that
Sand?
haven't
I don't
heard of
know.
them. Yeah. I have snorted like
Listen,
random-
I'm cool and I've done plenty of drugs.
I party, guys. I
love to
have
party.
snorted like random things at parties, but I never got into cocaine, thank God.
Thank God. I haven't either.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Yeah.
Really, never once?
Never.
Wow.
Nope.
Good for you. I did it 2 or 3 times, but anything with snorting, slippery slope for me because I love an upper.
Love an upper.
Love an
And a
upper.
pepper.
And a pepper. And
Pepper upper.
I snorted. I also ate bugs. Like I was doing weird stuff. It was just like
What were you getting out of it? Was this the beginning of learning how to be a comedian? Like was this
I
like were
think
you getting
so.
was- were
Yeah,
you
you
getting
see my act
getting a
now.
reaction.
Tons of bugs and peppers. It
it's
was
wild. You should see her at the cellar.
I
Freaking
there.
boxes of
I take grabbing the peppers off the table.
Yeah.
I think it was being a class clown. I was always getting in trouble. I was definitely the class clown.
Yeah.
And then it was just like finding new ways to like amp it up and just do like silly stuff. I think I felt weird, and then so I did weird stuff. And it was a way, like I was getting in trouble a lot. I think.
Was the attention like validating for you? Was it
Yeah, it
like,
was
oh,
fun.
okay, like in the midst of us trying to figure ourselves out, getting that attention made you feel like, oh, well, maybe I belong here, or
Right.
like, okay,
And I think I didn't necessarily. I don't know if I was having a hard time if it was paying attention or being dyslexic or because I can definitely track it to when I started having a lot of turmoil at home. Like I remember me and my friend Tom were the two kids that were like the class clowns, and both of us were like the ones whose parents just got divorced, and we were both also like overweight. Like I remember we went on this field trip to go rock climbing, and Tom and I were the only two that couldn't get up the rocks because we couldn't hoist our little bodies up. And they were doing the thing, the pulley system where we were big, so we couldn't find any kids to pulley with us. So we had to pulley with each other, but we couldn't get up the little thing. And then it's like, I remember that, and then I remember like eating a weird bug. Like both Tom and I are like,
this is the comedy origin
saying?
story. This is the comedy origin story. And sorry to our listeners, we didn't even say Emma Willmann is talented comedian extraordinaire. You've been on like everything, Netflix, Comedy Central, multiple Colbert appearances, JFL. You've done it all. You've done it all. You're like, everyone loves you. Everyone is obsessed with you for good reason. That's a comedian.
Thank you so much.
That's a
Trust
comedian.
it. Trust yourself.
Trust
and
yourself.
accept
Trust
the
to accept
compliment.
that. But it is. But I feel like I love talking to comedians about what their like origin story was because it's always born out of like
something.
It's something. You have this memory of like, oh, and that's when I became funny. That's when I learned I'm gonna make you laugh at me before you can laugh at me. Like I'm gonna control where the laughter comes from.
Yeah.
So before you can make fun of me, I'm gonna make fun of myself.
Right. That's where you clock it, because so many people are funny.
Yeah.
Like people are funny out there.
Yes.
And I would almost argue that people in everyday life that haven't made it their profession, some of the funniest people around, because they're less limited.
Absolutely.
Because once you start getting like the third eye of it, and you start, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this for that, you become so neurotic in your head that like, it's almost like the people that aren't doing that are, maybe they can't recreate it on stage, probably not, but it's like, it's the funny, there's like a funniness to them that's just like freer too.
Yeah.
But yes, totally.
Yeah.
So that could probably be the comedian origin story. But with trusting myself, I think it was, I think I didn't really see adults that trusted themselves very much.
Oh, interesting. So
Because
not having the model of it in front of you.
Yeah, like I don't think that, I'm trying to think of an adult that I saw that like really seemed like they were like really good to themselves. And that's like hard
Maybe a
to.
teacher or
I had an
something?
amazing teacher named Catherine Rozzi. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember she was always like, I went to a Waldorf school, which is like a hippie elementary school, and she was an incredible teacher. And she taught me, I think, to try to respect myself.
Uh-huh.
But I'm in thinking of like I would get myself, and I would get in trouble a lot. I was like acting out quite a bit, I would say. And then so I think that was planting the seeds of, I can't trust myself, or I'm defective, or I'm not good. So like, why would I trust this person that's like not doing well in school or getting in trouble for whatever it is?
Yeah.
So then I think that would like plant these seeds of I can't trust myself. And then like I always, even when I wasn't getting in trouble, it was usually the way I would be there for myself would always be like some kind of like sneaky hustling angle. Like I would never think I'd deserve something. It'd be like, oh, I got good grades, but it was because I took my Adderall or I took too much Adderall. I'm prescribed Adderall.
Yeah.
But I was always never either just not giving myself the credit if it was something good and then blaming myself too much if it was something bad.
Wow.
But that has passed.
What are the tools that have gotten you to a place that you now have a stronger sense of self and a stronger sense of being able to trust your intuition and your instincts?
Because one big thing is like just trying to learn how like my brain works a little bit. So I think what made me start trusting myself, because I didn't even really think of that as a concept so much, like because I was always numbing myself out. That's another thing. When you numb yourself out a lot, I just didn't want to feel anything, because I think feeling things is like integral to you have to trust that if you feel something uncomfortable, you're still going to be okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be not okay, and then you'll be okay again, and it's going to ebb and flow. Like, I don't have the right to feel one way all the time. That's not up for me to decide.
Yeah.
Which is what I think I would try to do for me, the first thing would have been food, and then alcohol, and then like cigarettes and shopping, maybe porn, maybe jumping from around to relationships, but just not, because I think also too, when you like disrespect other people, it's a sign of disrespecting yourself too. So it took really like stepping out of all that and saying, my way with all these things isn't working.
Uh-huh.
And then being like, why do I want to do this too? Am I implicitly mean in terms of the way I handled relationship stuff? Like, that doesn't sit right. Like,
Were you handling relationship stuff like in what way? Just like,
not so good.
okay.
I would say a real, not great, real blemish to be honest.
Okay.
I'd say the worst things I've done have really come out in relationships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I feel really bad
Yeah.
about it.
No. But I think I think like it's such an important step to like acknowledge that
Yes.
piece. Like it's such an important piece. Like you have to be like, God, I messed up.
Acknowledge it.
Like I messed up.
And change your behaviors. Because I used to acknowledge it a lot. Like I had apologies down. I'm so sorry I did this because of that. And then my dad and my mom and whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
Followed
I
by-
wasn't followed by repeating it.
right.
And so
The
it's
behavior change is the integral part of
integral part of respect. And
respect and trusting yourself and all that. Yeah.
I had this this one girlfriend. I remember when we broke up, and I had cheated, and she got really upset, as she had every right to do. Of course, because I say this too. It's like once you cheat, no matter what was going on in the relationship, you've committed such a violation of it. Whatever their reaction is, like, okay, you did the major wrong here.
Yeah.
So I remember she really was like flipped out, and she was like, I'm doing this. Like we're talking like sent pictures and like audio messages that she found on my phone between me and someone else to my mom and my dad.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, good luck with those two, because like my dad had been a womanizer, so he's like, bitch, like he's not
like,
getting the.
You learned well. You did
it's
good.
like,
Yeah.
And then my mom was just like, I don't even want to hear that. You know, this was crazy though. This as a side thing, because it was so messed up, because this particular person that I was talking to, we had gotten really into like role playing out different scenarios that were pretty hardcore. Like it would be like I would be like the stepbrother coming home drunk, and then my stepsister, and she's passed out, and I'm
Great.
But that was like one that we're both feeding into,
Yeah,
obviously, right? Like you only get there if both of you are going back.
Yeah.
And it's not about the actual thing; it's the transgressive nature of the power dynamics, yada yada. To people when you're playing around in a safe sexual space, whatever, sky's the limit, right?
Work great.
So my ex finds it, which is traumatizing anyway, because her and I didn't play around.
She didn't
like
understand that role play concept or
That wasn't
that.
a
Calls
thing.
my mom, says, "I want you to know Emma's sexually attracted to people in the family." I said, "Hold up!" I go, "No." I go, "No." Because we were doing like daddy role play stuff. I said, no. I go, that is about like transgressive power nature. It has nothing to do with anybody. And my mom's like, I don't want to know anything about what you're talking about your stepbrother. And I was like, no, I was playing this. We don't need to have this conversation. The point is, and my mom's like, but I remember, this was awful, right?
Yeah.
I remember the ex-girlfriend, she goes, you know what, Emma? She's like, part of why I'm doing this? She was like, because if I don't, like you're just gonna keep doing it again. She's like, and I'm gonna lay such a stain on what you've done that that's gonna stop the behavior.
Oof.
And to her credit, it really
Did it?
I think it would have stopped for other reasons too, but helped.
Okay. Because there's a piece of that, because I feel like shame is attached to that.
Shame is so woven into stuff.
Shame is so woven into stuff, but I don't see shame as a driver towards behavior change. I see it as a push it more in the
Interesting.
like me personally. Shame
That's
has
so interesting.
shame has never been like this is how it's going to come to life.
A
Like
helpful tool.
the helpful tool. The thing that's helpful is talking about it openly, being honest, just speaking about things.
course.
But I think so. When you started, like, do you feel like you're in a place now, I guess, where you're able to trust yourself more than you?
I trust myself so much more, but part of that is like putting things in place where if I were to start devising, like the way my brain operates, like I can't just trust it like alone on an island.
What does it look like? What does trusting yourself look like? Let's start there.
What it looks like is me putting, I think it's like buffers or putting little things in place to make it checks and balances.
Checks and balances. Okay.
So, because I'll start thinking things are a good idea pretty quick.
Okay.
I'm going to use the latest, an example of a couple months ago, right?
Okay.
Great.
So I had found there are these things called peptides, which are short chain amino acids that are really big in health and wellness. And you can do peptide injections, anti-aging, they can do all types of stuff. So I had found a couple places that I could get peptides. A lot of them come from China anyway, and then people do third-party testing, and it's like a whole thing. So I found a site, and I was buying a lot of them at the time. I found a site that you can talk to people directly in China. So I'm talking to people in China, and I also have another app going. I'm learning Chinese to try to talk and get
To
their
get the peptides. Okay.
yeah. Well, this is not that long ago. So I'm doing this and I go, oh my God, if I can find a Chinese distributor directly with legit peptides and I get it third-party tested, I could start selling them. And then, so I got this like giant credit card bill, right? And I was like, I gotta get some cash. So this is gonna sound crazy, but the reason it gets crazy is because I didn't tell anybody. And the second I told, because the people in my life now, I trust. So categorically they go, bad idea. This is a bad idea. I knew my therapist would say bad. I knew my girlfriend would.
But in your brain, you thought that it was a good idea.
In
You're
your
like,
brain,
this
you
is
were like,
logical. This is a good idea.
Yeah, and I didn't even tell you what the whole idea is.
Yeah, carry on.
So
finish
I'll
it.
tell you what it is, so I was like, in retrospect, yes, it does sound crazy, but I get what I was thinking. So I was like, all right, one of the peptides, tirzepatide, is the active ingredient in not Ozempic, that's semaglutide, Wegovy. So
Wegovy, okay.
I go, okay, this Chinese distributor seems pretty legit with tirzepatide. If it's clean, then I can get it for like $10 and mark it up to this and still be selling it really low. And then I'm like, I got to find a non-traceable phone. And I was like, but a lot of places already sell
Are we allowed to publish this episode?
Yeah, I didn't do it.
I'm kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So
She goes from pepper to
do you guys want to buy
Chinese
some?
Peptides.
Long story short, Emma Willmann peptides.com. No, so
Oh my God. Okay.
this is where it hasn't
Did
gotten
you buy
quite-
the domain?
No, but that wasn't what the domain was going to be. It's going to get really weird.
Okay. I'm ready.
It's gonna get.
I'm ready.
So my idea was, I was like, okay. So my idea was, I was like, wait a minute. What if I make it, this is before he won, but I was like, what if I make it seem like it's peptides for Trump? And then I aggressively market Trumpers on Facebook. Like, and my plan is like, there's two things I love, Trump and
peptides.
Wegovy, semaglutide. So every time you buy a peptide for Trump, I'll donate $10 to his campaign. Now, I wasn't gonna, but I was just gonna try to get these people. So I come up with this idea. I tell my therapist, and she's like, no.
Correct.
She goes,
Correct.
the
Good advice.
She was like, how did this get this far? And at this point, I had spent like 10 hours on it because I had to figure out how to interact in
to learn
Chinese. I don't speak Chinese. It's very hard.
Easy language to pick up.
Wow.
Quick.
You learned it in 10 hours.
Look at you.
I learned enough
Enough.
to interact where you then take it over to WhatsApp. And then like I'm cross-referencing on Reddit and all this.
Okay.
So
Point being, learning to trust yourself is challenging until you have outside factors that can also kind of keep you in checks and balances.
So for me, I
Okay.
need to have people around me that I'm talking to on an extremely regular basis.
Okay.
This was an example of maybe I should have done more check-ins to get to this point, because
Uh-huh.
I was like I remember I was like, this is a good idea. And my therapist was like, I see that could work. Sure. She's like, but why are you not spending more time on your career? And I was like, oh, good point. Good point.
Good one, Grace.
Good one. Yeah, exactly. Ah, she's good. She's good. I'm like, you're a genius. She's like, this is like,
Basic.
anyone would have. But it's things like that. And like my
Okay.
friend Gibran, who's a comic, like she was like, I do think that's a great idea. And I was like, finally, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank
Finally,
you.
yeah.
And he goes, but I really think it's a bad idea. And I was like, got it. And then
Got it.
the farther I moved away from that, I was like, oh my God, that was crazy. This is something people inject. Like, what am I doing? Also, like, I could just spend that time, selling merch after shows. I don't have to pay the whole credit card right now. I have lots of resources at my disposal. I'm fine.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it's the learning to trust myself is kind of like when I have a moment is knowing that I will conjure up things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having people that like, okay, my therapist, my girlfriend, the people that I interact with now, I can honestly say there's no one in my life that's going to say that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Would there have been 10, 15 years
can
ago?
guarantee to you 6 years ago. Not even. I've got 2 friends and man, I still love those. I miss being closer, but it's just like, I know that
They would have said not only yes, but let me help.
Yeah.
Off
like,
to the
here's the
racetrack.
burner phone. Go.
Yeah.
And I reached out to actually 3 friends, and I reached out to one of them when I was thinking this, actually. So maybe to be fair to them, because she has like a warehouse now, and she sells marijuana legally. I'm not saying any names or
No
anything.
names.
And
Not peptides.
but she had no peptides,
Yeah.
but she has a giant warehouse. And I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this peptide thing. Like, I needed an address to route things through. like, and I told her the whole plan, and she just wrote back, LOL, what the hell's a peptide? And then I was like, okay, you know what? Like, you're right. Like, this is so,
Yeah.
but I need to have things in place that are like, that redirect it. So trusting myself means knowing myself well enough to know that I think of some really crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like my best, and to me, that's a new type of bad idea. My old bad ideas, now I can kind of go, you don't want to drink. You are not going to feel good if you stay up all night scrolling social media. Like, there's certain things that I've done enough where I'm like, that is, I know that show.
You know that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But the same brain that initially came up with doing that as a coping mechanism for life is then now trying to find, is still there. So it's going to find new ways to then come up with weird stuff.
Of course.
Which that one I didn't clock right away because that's not one I had thought of before.
That's so interesting. Like the almost like insidious nature of your brain, of like, you have to know yourself well enough to be like, this idea is going to come cloaked in like, it's not drinking, it's not overeating, it's not cheating, it's not coming in the main ways that all my other stuff used to come.
Because I liked the idea. I mean, I really liked the idea. Like, I had big plans.
And listen, you could logic, I can see, I guess. I can't. Sure.
I've thought of crazy things too.
Peptides for Trump because they're a community and they like to. There's nothing more than they like than this frickin' guy, right? So you go on. They've got these Facebook groups. They're off the hinges. They're out there. It'd be a picture of a gun, a flag, and Trump, and go love, 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 and then boom, we'll go over in there.
I'm not opposed to this.
I'd make a fake name, Dougie Dog, whatever.
Hit me up after, we'll chat. Yeah.
See, there's a world.
So yes, there absolutely is a world, but I love that, like, that, you know, were you maybe not checking in with your people early on because there was a part of you? Yeah, because you were like, I know what they're gonna say.
Because also I was like, this is crazy. Like because also it's like I don't want to actually hurt anyone physically.
Right.
No, of course.
So these are injections, right?
Right.
So
You're gonna end up with a lot of lawsuits.
Well, my plan was no one would know who I was, but yes, but I wouldn't want to. But yes, you're right. See, you were right and I'm wrong. So yes, like.
Okay.
But it's like. What I needed to be focusing on when I was having these particular thoughts too, I was in Vegas at this club. I was at this club I really loved, Brad Garrett's, and I had been there like a year before. And I think I was doing like half-hour sets each night there, right?
Okay.
So not a long set, very cushy. And I was like, it was like prime time to be also slipping in some new stuff and working on things. And instead of just, you know, working on stuff or setting up a mailing list like I had been trying to do, I was spending all this time learning Chinese, which would be awesome to do. But the reason I was doing it was not virtuous, let's be honest, and talking on WhatsApp. You know what I'm saying? I also did buy a couple of the peptides. So then I'm calling my bank. No, this is legit. My credit card hasn't been hacked. I'm sending a money order.
Wow.
Guess where the peptides were manufactured out of? Wuhan. Which I was like, I know that, but
why do I know Wuhan?
they do a lot of medical stuff there. That actually is legit. No shit.
That
to
is legit.
Wuhan.
Yes, correct.
But so I was in it pretty thick. I did a virtual tour of some of the factories.
You were in it.
I was in it.
You were in it.
When I said 10 to 15 hours, I mean, it was a 10 and 15 hours.
That was a focused. That was a focused 10 to 15. Wow.
But I have to.
But I think there are a lot of people who don't, because you have your friends who you're like, I know you're not going to be on board with this, or I know you are going to be on board with this. And I think that happens too with like, even as you try to get out of your vices, right?
Yes.
Of like, my drinking buddies, oh yeah, I'm going to for sure call them for this
they're gonna be
thing,
like,
and they're
"You
going to
don't have a
encourage
problem
it.
I know.
Yes.
And doesn't it feels a little, I don't know if you guys relate with that with friends or people or things, but it does feel a little sad too, because it's just, I don't know, it's like grown out of it, just didn't work, but it was, and it didn't feel fun a lot of times too, but there was a part of it that was fun.
Of course, that's why you keep hanging out and doing this stuff and partying and staying out all night. But there's a point that you get to where you're like, this isn't it for me.
And it's not wanting your best, it's not for your best self or their best self. Like,
so I'm curious about like what, like when you had these transition moments, or like when you're figuring out how to trust yourself, when you're figuring out like, what does it feel like when you are trusting yourself?
Great question. It's weird
Yeah.
So it's really weird, and it's usually something that is indicative of some. It's usually like, what's the simpler way?
Okay.
What is like how I'll try to do it now is where I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, I know that my brain, like, I love an instant reward, right? Ooh, and I love the build up to something. So a constant thing I'll fantasize is about, less now, but a big one for me is like sugar. So I picture, like, if I even go into a grocery store, you know, the grocery store cakes with the cheap frosting, if I even smell it, it gets like, I want it, and I don't want to just eat it. I want it in my ears. I want to cover myself in it. I want to be in a trash can under a bridge, putting it in my butt.
Cake farts. Have you seen the cake farts video?
No.
We'll link it in the bio.
Please
Tell
do.
us. Well, wait, what is a
I
cake
want to
fart?
be consumed.
It was a viral video of some girl that was like, you know what I love? Cake farts. And she like squats on a cake and farts in the cake. And it's like, it was like a YouTube video that was viral forever. And everyone would just like get stoned and watch the cake farts video.
Was she
You guys
really
don't know about this?
No, but that's so disrespectful to the cake of her. You know,
It is.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have liked that.
She just
No,
is, like,
you're
farting on
respecting the
frosting.
cake.
Yeah.
You're
so
respecting the
absurd.
cake.
And you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You guys don't know cake farts.
Okay,
No.
well, now we
Okay,
know.
so maybe it could have been you.
No,
But
it was not
wasn't.
me. I
It
would
was
never.
not.
You would
Okay,
No, I would
great.
never.
Okay, so you're in the grocery store and there's a cake that you
So
smell.
I'm picturing, and I know. So part of me is like, I just want to like go somewhere and just like have all this cake, but I know if I even have one bite of it, it's so hard for me to then reel it in. So it's like, that is like one where it's like easier to trust myself. Where it's like, trust that when you do this, I have to be so spiritually centered to partake in that.
So it's clocking your patterns of behavior and being
Yes,
like, I
that's a
know that
big
I
one.
do this, and so I have to have these measures in place to.
It's like the first drink.
Exactly.
Don't have the first drink.
Exactly.
That's
And-
where I am
Always,
with.
always.
I feel like with
Yes.
alcohol,
Yep.
where I'm
And
like,
it's trickier. Sugar's trickier because you still, like, I know now, like, I can really enjoy like a really rich like piece of like a cheesecake. If it's something's too sweet, that's when it, like, now.
because it's like literally engineered to do that to us. But so are you with sugar, like with eating? Because you said you had like weight problems growing up.
Yes.
So that's still just.
Such a pull.
But you're also in such great shape,
I
and you've
appreciate
been
that.
doing so much physical activity, and like.
I've always been a worker-outer, but my body didn't reflect it because of my like
Diet.
eating patterns.
Okay.
Definite.
But
like,
you had like you're doing. Are we still going 6?
I'm not. I've lost some muscle, but I'm still very like lean. And one thing with that type of with muscles in the stomach there is very genetic too, because everyone has them. It's just whether or not you've got one option: build them so they're like bigger, but it's just about like leaning out to the point where then they're visible, and you can't control where you lean out necessarily.
course, of
That just happens to be. That is where I lean out pretty quick. But
Okay. I want to ask when it comes to trusting yourself.
Yes.
For me, my biggest issue is, and I feel like my therapist is constantly challenging me, is saying you have a good sense of self, but when you go into anxiety spirals, all bets are off. If I'm feeling anxious about, I don't know, we'll say being in a Speedo on the beach in Fire Island or something like that. And I'm like, oh God, like, what is my body? Like, at the end of the day, I know that, like, I am a smart, intelligent, fun person. I don't need validation from all these other people on the beach to make me feel good about myself. I know that, like, my body is in healthy shape, even if it's not super fit and have a six-pack, blah, blah. Like, I know all of these things, but the anxiety of it catches me. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm terrible. I'm awful. I have a terrible body. And then I go down the spiral of, I'm going to be homeless and lonely and never meet anyone for the rest of my life, and the world is ending. And it becomes this shame anxiety spiral when, like, my brain, as I know that I can trust myself and my logic,
Right.
but the anxiety wraps me in. So how are you able to differentiate between your trusted sense of self and when other factors take hold, like the cravings or anxiety or ADHD or something else? Like, when something grabs you, how are you able to differentiate between the two?
So what I'll do is, and that's totally relatable, I get that. And we've all got some worst case scenario that like our brain knows how to be like, doot, 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 boing.
Connect the dots.
Mine's
boom.
me drunk in Florida looking at a TV, and I just randomly picture, I used to work with this manager, Barry Katz, which I'd actually had a great experience working with him, but for some reason in the visual, I'm drunk at this shitty bar. He's on TV doing an interview, and I turn to the guy next to me. We don't even know each other, and I go, I used to work with him. I was trying to be in show business. And he goes, what? And I go, ugh. That's where I go.
I've thought of that too, yeah.
That's where I go. And so that's the place you go. So now what it is, I'll try to be like, okay, what do I actually know right now? Let me try to acknowledge too that my feelings aren't necessarily facts. So I feel this way about, I'm just going to try to not to hijack your anxiety. I'm trying to figure out if it was my own. I go, so for me, if I'm feeling this way, like what do I have other options besides putting myself in this situation? For me, I would think I can wear something different. So there is that. If I'm uncomfortable, I can change. Imagine the sick son of a bitch that's going to say you have to wear a Speedo. Get out of here. I wouldn't know. Am I worried about this sick sack of shit? Yeah. No. Excuse you. And then, or if I do want to wear it, why? Because I want to feel the sun in my skin. Let me try to be in the moment with that. And then know if I do feel weird, I can cover up and then say, and you stop it right there, because the other stuff, like, you're not even, all the things that I would picture, like, oh, I can't do that because once I'm in this situation, it's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'll try to be like, pull it in as much as you can to the exact moment of that you're in, because the other stuff, that's like, we're future tripping. Yeah. So when you start future tripping too much, you go, I'm not there right now. So
that's a red flag for you. Future tripping is a red flag for you.
Especially if the future tripping, I mean, honestly, a future trip can be bad too, because I can get really into fantasy. And if it's a fantasy without any action, the fantasy is less now, but like where I like am picturing, I want this and
like
I want
sci-fi
that.
fantasy or like fantastic ideas?
Where I'll be like, I think probably when you picture like really good things, like that probably is just good for your system. But I try to just like really bring it in, because I used to get lost in that. Like I used to be like, I'm gonna have this and I'm gonna have that, but then
like daydreaming about like a future self, or like when I'm at my best or when I'm at my peak or when I've figured all of it out, this is what I'm gonna look like and this is what I'm gonna have, and then you just spend all your time thinking about that rather than like, what is the work I have to do to get there?
Yeah,
that's that's a thing I'm working on right now.
It's tricky.
It's hard
because it's nice to.
It's really nice to sit in that future daydream.
Yes.
Look at how good. Look at how funny she is. Look at all the things she has that you want right now that you don't have.
Right.
Look at the apartment. Look at the.
And it is true. You can get those things too.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't want to damper it.
And what's the dividing line between like positive visualization and thinking and being pointed about what you want,
right,
versus getting lost in that, and not doing the work.
Because I know for me, one thing where it would be negative if I go, I want this and I want that, and I go, and someday I'll have it, so I'm going to spend money like I have it right now. Now it's like, wait a minute, like the first time I read The Secret, I go, I'm rich. Like I just remember being like, Alex and I were just talking about The Penguin. Have you seen that?
I have not.
It's
no.
so good. So good. But there's this scene, I don't want to give too much away, but you know the song 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton? It's an amazing scene. So without giving too much away, but I picture myself, like it would be like when The Secret first came out, where it's like, picture the money and you have the money. It'd be me where it's like, but me just spending, working, swipe, like that. Because
spending 9 to 5.
Yeah, because I go, I picture it and I have it. So, but taking it really far.
Too far.
So now it would be like, hey, do some, you can't
spending
do that.
Like on a credit card, like you're a millionaire, even though you actually don't have the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fine line.
That is like, that's going to hurt you right now to do. So what can you do to, like, it's like, okay, if you want, it's a lot less fun is looking at, okay, what are the main revenue streams that would get you there? Okay, so I'd say your biggest revenue stream at the moment is touring. Okay, so that means, we got to really weigh in.
Yeah.
You got to get your merch and your mailing list right. Like right now, I've got all these different mailing lists from different things I set up. I don't even know how to merge them. Mm-hmm. I got all these phone numbers from different things I've set up, but I don't know it's like a mess.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe sitting down with that and then organizing it to sell some more tickets.
Streamline your efforts and
doing things
then
like that.
Learn Chinese.
Right.
Correct.
And that's a lot less fun.
It's a lot less fun than thinking about where you're swiping your cart.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does ultimately feel better. Like a big one, a nightly wrestle I have is with reading instead of going on my phone.
Yep.
So like even last night, like this new show came out, The Night Agent. I'm like, ooh, I want to watch that. So I watched a couple episodes where I did dishes, and I felt like a saint. I'll tell you that. Because I was like, I found a way to watch it and do the dishes.
Who was it? James Clear in Atomic Habits.
I need to read
about,
that. Oh, I have read. I have read.
Talks about like habit stacking, I think, where it's like if you want to watch a show, like bring your phone to the gym and like watch it while you walk on the treadmill or something like
Exactly.
pair. And I don't know if I might be misconstruing who said that, but
it was Atomic Habits. Yeah.
But like do dishes while you. So I try to do that, but then I get my thing is I go overboard with that sometimes where I try to multitask everything now.
Yeah,
So when I'm like okay, well eat breakfast while you read your book, and then I like can't. I'm like holding it with an elbow, and then like just sit with your food, Alex. Like just fucking do one thing at a time.
Okay, if you know you're gonna eat breakfast, then stack the habit with it. So it's like if you eat the breakfast, then you do it like before or after it.
But
I do your version too, where it would be like habit smushing. Is what we were doing.
I'm doing a lot.
Like you need to read that book.
I'm doing a lot of smush.
Where it's like for me, it's like I know I'm gonna drink coffee, right? So it's like, what's the habit? If I know, what can I attach to drinking coffee? Can it be making the bed that has not panned out? But it's like something like that, where it's like you know you're gonna drink coffee. It's like, okay, you know you're gonna watch porn. So say you're gonna watch porn, then you need to also like put your clothes away or something that you don't like to
have
do.
some celery on the other side of your porn watching.
Whereas versus what then the version that we both then is
fucking yourself with the celery while you watch.
Exactly. Which I get, because all of a sudden let's fast forward it, make it a little more efficient.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why make it so efficient? For me, then it's like so I can go scroll on Instagram.
It's efficiency, but that's when I kind of coming back to our like topic of trusting yourself, and like one of the big things I'm trying to trust myself with right now is that slowing down is going to give me all the results I want and more. And it's hard for me my habits are do everything habit smush, do everything efficiently, go at 1,000 habit smush, go at 1,000 miles an hour, work until you're exhausted, engage in habits that are not beneficial to you, and white knuckle your way through it, and you'll get what you want. And it's like, I've gotten a fair amount, down the road that I want with that stuff. But when I am well rested, I am more creative. It's easier for me to write when I'm well rested.
We need space for our brain to think of stuff.
Yes.
It has to have, it's like we have to have boredom, for lack of a better word, for our brain to then start like connecting things. Like we have to allow space where we're not in our phone and we're not doing to literally to think.
Even down to eating. When I'm not multitasking while I eat, I'm paying more attention to how my body feels.
Right.
Like it's these little acts of like trust that beget the bigger acts of trust. Like for me at least, that's where I am right now, is being like, even literally walking to a train. I'm like, slow down. Slow down. Just you don't have to be sore when you get there.
Right.
Like just chill. The forward movement is actually in the slowness for me. That's my big trusting myself right now, because it's hard to be like, why would slower be better in America?
Totally.
Like, when has that ever been the thing? And it's like, it actually is very much the thing.
Right. Because if not, you're gonna get sick. And you're gonna like mentally, physically, spiritually, all of it.
Yeah.
That's gonna take you out for way longer.
Yeah.
Or say you get something great, you're a shell of yourself and you're miserable.
Yeah.
So who got it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's really the slowing down one too, because like I think I don't know if you have this too, but like we've talked about it before a little bit with like with your nervous system. If you're comfortable with having your nervous system shot a little bit or dealing with stress, then it feels wrong to go away from what you're used to too.
Yeah.
So it's like I am always like, now like it would feel like I was doing something wrong if my nervous system wasn't super stressed. One thing that's helped me is like really looking back, like, how did I get there? Where did I learn from? So like now, like if I'm around my mom, observing her, bless her, she's still here. I'm just blessing her. I'm not, but she's like, her nervous system, especially she's gotten older, like say she was gonna make she'd be like, I tried to make the tea and it didn't work. Your thing doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm like, oh, did you turn it on? I guess I didn't turn it on, but I don't know, it doesn't work. Like, everything doesn't work. It's a problem. It's a blah, blah, blah. And it goes from 0 to and it's like,
because that's the way she's been functioning her whole life.
Yeah. And it's like, and look, that's actually such a, and then they go, where did I learn this habit? And is it working for that person?
For them?
Yeah.
Or like snapping, that's something where, my girlfriend, I'd only do it in relationships too, where they'd be like, why'd you snap at me? And I'd be like, I didn't snap at you. And then I started being like, wait, trust what they're saying. Like, first of all, what's in it for them to not say, trust what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then also like now, like that's this one with my mom too, where only recently where I've started to be like, where did I get this stuff? Oh, just with her in the car. And you're like, whoa, who? How's Nancy? Nancy from book club is not good. And you're like, what was that? Like, it's like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
Or I don't know how Nancy is. Sorry.
I hope Nancy's okay.
She's
Nancy's
fine.
good. Thank God.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
God,
God.
Nancy.
Yeah, but it's like there's once I see where I got it, it feels less innately true to me.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh, this isn't something that is just like naturally who I am. Or even if it is, I can change it because it was learned, so I can learn some way to react differently.
New coping habits.
But it is a couple
love that.
steps forward, a couple steps back.
Yeah, it's not linear. It's
Once
not
you start
linear.
even saying, like, I don't know if you had this, but when I did start, for me, taking more space and time for myself, I swung pretty hard. Like, it was like last summer, the amount of self-care that I was doing, maybe it was the right amount, but I was like really doing a lot of it. Like, I was like doing like support groups while I'm in my sauna bag, like drinking water. Like, I was like obsessed
She's
with it.
self-care smushing.
Self-care smushing. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Oh my
And
God.
holding it so tightly where I thought if I didn't do any of these one things, I would lose it all. And now it's like, oh, it doesn't.
Trust that like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
If you don't get your steps, I used to be so, I gotta get
Yeah.
flip out.
Loosening the rigidity of it.
Yeah.
I think is so
Because then it's
helpful.
like you're missing the mark then.
Yeah.
If you get so obsessed, it's like if you're like flipping out that you didn't meditate, maybe we need to shift gears with how we're approaching the meditation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do 5 minutes instead of 15.
Yeah.
Right.
Make adjustments. Change how you show up. And it's another James Clear thing.
Yeah.
I gotta read that book.
Be flexible with like,
Right.
don't be flexible with the consistency. Be flexible with how you show up.
Yes.
So meditate every day, but some days you'll be able to meditate for a half
Right.
hour, and some days it's 5 minutes.
Right.
But just the consistency is
Exactly.
okay. With that, we have our.
We gotta wrap.
We had to wrap.
please.
Even though we could talk for
I know.
hours and
Thank you,
hours
and
more.
hours
This
and
was
hours.
amazing.
We do our rapid fire. So we're just gonna say, respond as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Ariel or Jasmine?
Wait, what? Hold on. Sorry, what?
Disney princesses, Ariel or Jasmine?
Jasmine.
If you could travel back in time, where would you go?
Prague.
Do you
I just panicked.
It's okay.
I was
it's
just
okay.
looking at pictures
Keep going,
of Prague.
keep
on
do
the
you
thing.
snore?
Yeah, I do.
Favorite junk food?
Oh man, Swiss rolls.
Favorite season?
Fall.
going. IKEA or Target?
Yeah.
Kill, fuck, marry. Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut.
Ooh, okay. Mary, Massachusetts. No, Mary, Massachusetts. I want to say fuck Maine. Hold on. Who would be the most fun? God, I hate to say it, but probably I'd have sex with Connecticut. But
Okay.
it would be like
Lost princess.
raunchy. But it would be because that's usually like if it's like a pent up.
Yeah.
You know, like I've done everything right, but like that's why I go to such dark places in the bedroom, and I'd be like,
Great.
I got you.
Okay.
So, Sex Connecticut, or maybe Sex Connecticut. I can't.
Next
Kill
Next
me.
question.
Sorry.
Do you add extra butter on your popcorn at the movie theater?
Oh, I can't even go near that stuff.
Okay.
I love popcorn at the movie theater.
Superpower you wish you had?
I really wish I could heal my gut and fly. I'm not good at these rapid fire
No,
things.
it's okay.
I'm
Final
too
question.
wordy.
Final question. Name that song. This is the lyric. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. What song
Mary
is it?
Poppins something?
Yeah. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Amazing.
Well done.
You
Well
nailed it.
done.
Oh, you nailed it.
Oh.
You gave me some full anxiety on that.
Yeah. Rapid fire's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
Remember those in the SAT where you got to think?
I
Wish
know.
I could
Oh.
feel my gut.
I was like,
Or fly.
Emma Willmann, everyone. Where can we follow you on?
on Instagram. Instagram
Emma.
and TikTok, but Instagram the most is at Emma Willmann on Instagram.
Amazing. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was
You're a delight. That was so
perfect.
fun.
Anytime.
So fun.
Peptides for Trump. I'm
All right.
not going to do
Bye,
it.
everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.